On today's show, the Phoenix Suns get their 23rd win of the season, defeating the New York Knicks 112-107, winning in a different style this way, with their stars showing up throughout the entirety of the game and in the biggest moments. We're talking about Devin Booker. We're talking about Dillon Brooks. Who else helped this Suns team win? Let's talk about that and much more in this edition of Locked On Phoenix Suns.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up? Welcome back into yet another version of another episode of Locked On Phoenix Suns, wherever you may be listening, watching, consuming Locked On Phoenix Suns. We appreciate you doing that. My name is Benjamin Garcia, host of the Ben Garcia Show, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 8 a.m., where we talk all Arizona sports, and a credentialed Phoenix Suns media member covering your Phoenix Suns 365 days out of the year for the number one sports podcast network in the world, the Locked On Podcast Network. We also want to remind you, Locked On Phoenix Suns is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button to do what thousands of Suns fans have already done. Become an everyday and get locked on the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So this game was another impressive win in the Suns' resume this season, where they continue to show you, no, we are no longer just the fun story. We are the real deal this season. And tonight was yet another representation of that. The Suns, over the last week, if I'm not mistaken, have played two teams that I think that they have really molded themselves from. I've called them the Oklahoma City Thunder light version, the great value version, if you will, and that's not a discredit to the Phoenix Suns. That's just the fact that the Oklahoma City Thunder are one of the best teams in the NBA night in and night out. So I've also, at times, compared them to last year's Nova Knicks. Now, why do I say last year's Nova Knicks? Well, because that team last year dove on the ground for every loose ball. Played 48 minutes a night. It's one of the reasons why Tibbs got fired, because they were playing their players 43 minutes a night, and then in the postseason, that didn't work out. It's like one of the only things the Suns don't do. They don't play their guys 50 minutes a night like Tibbs was doing last year. But they get out on every loose ball. Every 50-50 ball is theirs. They're getting out in transition. They're making you play their brand, their style of basketball, where their backbone is always going to be on the defensive side of the court. And the Suns have won in a multitude of different ways this year. They've won in the way where they just play defense. They've won slobber knockers. They prefer, I think, to play in the bar fight level games. Those types of games favor the Phoenix Suns more than anything else. They want games to get gross. They want them to get ugly. They want players to be sucker punching each other under the basket. They want a bar fight. That's what the Suns want to do. They've done it defensively, where all game they just get timely buckets, and defensively they hold you to under 100 points. And they've done a variety of different things. We've seen the role players go off and carry the Suns to a win. We've seen the Suns win by shooting 45% from three, and they just go unconscious from three, and they win that way. One of the testaments to a good team is not just, can you win games? It's, can you win games in a multitude of different ways? There's winning ugly. There's winning from three. There's winning with role players. And I don't think the Suns have had this kind of win all year, where everyone played, where their two stars played collectively maybe their best games of the season. Tonight, Devin Booker and Dillon Brooks showed up at the same time. Now, we've had good games from both at the same time, but we haven't had elite-level games from both at the same time. Dillon Brooks came out of this game firing immediately. When you have the combination of Dillon Brooks not being able to miss from three, and his also defensive prowess that is always going to carry him, man, he was so good on Jalen Brunson late in this game. There was, and it was crazy to me that the Knicks weren't sending over a screen or making it tougher for or making it easier for Jalen Brunson down the stretch. But Devin Booker and Dillon Brooks tonight, 58 points, 10 rebounds, 13 assists, 9 for 15 from 3. Now that last one is the most intriguing stat because because Devin Booker has been a really bad three-point shooter this year. This might have been his best game from 3 all year long. 4 for 6 from 3, and each one of them looked better and better. I talked about Dillon Brooks for a second, and we can talk about him a little bit more because I have another take that I've mentioned before, but I want to test the waters of it again, and let's see what you guys have to say about it. But this was the most complete game from Devin Booker. Now, people will say, well, Ben, you've already said he's played his best game. Yeah, he has played his best game. The best stat sheet performance game was maybe a couple days ago where they beat, whoever. But the most complete game from Devin Booker comes from tonight, where Devin Booker had 8 assists, was 7 or 8 from free throw when he wasn't getting numerous calls that he should have gotten, was 10 for 23 from the field, and not only played a really good defense, and the Knicks in all reality should have the players to shut down Devin Booker, or maybe not shut down Devin Booker, maybe that's the wrong word because he's a star player. It's hard to do that on a night-in, night-out basis. But they should have the players to make life really difficult on Devin Booker. And I tweeted this out, and because again, my Twitter sometimes is like my diary. I don't remember everything, so I tweet it out, and I forget that other people can see it too, and it's just kind of funny. But I tweeted out that it felt like Devin Booker was getting to his spots more comfortably than in any other game I can remember this season. I said this is the most complete game from Devin Booker we've seen all season. And you can see over the past few weeks, it's starting to get to him. And then I said, I feel like Devin Booker is getting to his spots in the high post pretty easily. So easily, I think it's surprising him a little bit that the doubles aren't coming as often and throwing off his timing when he shoots a shot. Early in the first half, it felt like numerous times the Knicks would just put Jalen Brunson on Devin Booker, and Devin Booker is a deceptively strong individual who got Jalen Brunson on his hip, and whether it was Jalen Brunson or Mikal Bridges, got him on his hip, backed him down, was stronger than them, and got up an elbow jumper, and it was almost like he was surprised that there wasn't 2 guys draped all over him. It was to the point where I thought maybe it was messing up his timing a little bit. Because this was as smooth as I've seen Devin Booker play the offensive game that I've seen all season. Because I've seen it look smooth before, but I haven't seen the results. Today I saw the results. 31 points, 4 for 6 from 3. He was lights out today for this team. This was the most complete version of Devin Booker, while also still creating for others. Booker should have had probably 12 assists tonight. He had 8. The Suns shot collectively from 3 tonight, 38%, so not bad, but not elite either, not necessarily not bad at all, but guys left a couple of assists out there open for him, and they just didn't cash in on them. So I thought Devin Booker played his most complete game tonight, and I think you're starting to see, now we have almost 2 weeks of data, where Devin Booker is really starting to hit his stride again, where he's getting to his spots, where it looked really clunky before, and now it looks a lot smoother. And the only thing I'll say about Book that was a little frustrating in this game is because late, and I mean really late in this game, he had Mitchell Robinson at the top of the key or on the right wing, and he still wouldn't take Mitchell Robinson to the cup like Dillon Brooks had been doing, but instead he was settling for outside jump shots. I understand Devin Booker was shooting well for 3 tonight, but both of his missed threes, or at least, I think it's just one, but one of his missed threes came in the fourth quarter because the Knicks want him to shoot that. They read the scouting report. They know what's going on. So Book has to know in that one moment he can't force up that shot because he was cooking them from the mid-range, getting down low. And, late in this game, which put the Suns up, I believe, 101-96. I want to make sure I saw that. But I said from Devin Booker, Booker stops the bleeding with an elbow jumper which put the Suns up 96-92, and it was also an one attempt. So that was the only thing from Booker tonight where I didn't like where he settled. It was literally one thing. He settled for a three-point jumper late in this game when Mitchell Robinson was on him, when I'd prefer he get to the basket, driving past Mitchell Robinson like Dillon Brooks just did, or hit an elbow jumper. He didn't. That's the only thing. That's the only thing. That's me nitpicking Devin Booker. Outside of that, that is all-star level Devin Booker on this court. I'm pointing to the court, and you can't even see where I'm pointing, but that's all-star level Devin Booker. That's what's going to get him to an all-star game. That's what's going to take this Suns team to the next level. That's what's going to move the Suns into a potential Western Conference Finals team. Guys, they're 23-15 on the season, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 23-15 on the season. Like, they're one power forward piece away, which we're going to talk about in the show, of really competing in the Western Conference, because they match up really well with a lot of these teams. And so Booker was awesome. Let's get to Dillon Brooks as well in this game, who put on yet another clinic. 8 for 15 from the floor, 5 for 9 from 3, clutch free throws at the end of this game. Is Dillon Brooks officially the Suns' second best player? And why, just so we're clear, that's not a bad thing. Let's talk about that next. Today's episode is brought to you by the lovely folks over at FanDuel. Fridays always feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the game tips off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a little time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the game and action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always brings something new, boosts, bonuses, and surprises. It's easy to check the weekly special before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. The timing is perfect, right before the games, right before the weekend starts. It adds extra energy to Friday night basketball without overthinking it. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour, only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Reminder, we also dropped our Everydayer Club. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in the world. If you haven't already, go check out our Everydayer Club. It's access to an ad-free audio version of Locked On Suns compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. It's an invite to the Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show. I'll be hanging out in there as well. Go to lockedonsuns.simplecast.com or tap the link in the show notes if you're listening on audio, or go to the episode description if you're watching on YouTube and get signed up for that. It's another way for you to support the show if you so please, as well as you'll get a bunch of really cool perks with that as well. Okay, so Dillon Brooks was unconscious from 3 tonight immediately right away in this game. My first notes that I took all the way back in the first quarter was Dillon Brooks' impossible shot making continues as he hits a three-pointer from a different area code. It was the first quarter in this game, and you guys can't see what I'm looking at, but he was standing on the V in the valley from the top of the key with Mark Williams in front of him, and this was before his barrage of three-point hits. I think he hit one three-pointer before this and splash-towned it. Dillon Brooks, you are now starting to see, similar to Devin Booker, when Dillon Brooks wasn't shooting really well from 3 to start the season, that's starting to tick up, which is a game changer for the Phoenix Suns and what they want to do and what they want to do offensively. And so with Dillon Brooks and his ability to shoot the three-point jumper, that was massive tonight. And so if Dillon Brooks now, who is, again, shooting a career high from the field this season, and I want to make sure I get his exact thing. That's why I'm kind of stuttering there, so I apologize. But Dillon Brooks is shooting 45% from the field, by far his career high. Ever since his rookie season, which was 44%, and he only shot 9 shots a game, he's shooting 17 shots a game. So the most shots he's ever shot in a season, and he's shooting 45% off that. He was shooting 32% from three just a few days ago. Now he's already starting to tick up to 34%. So my eyes don't deceive me. He's shooting it better. He's shooting 83% from free throw. That's a massive. He's got 21 points a game. And so it leads me to believe and to beg the question of, Jordan Ott mentioned today that when Jalen Green comes back, he is going to be inserted in the starting lineup. I think it's hilarious that I have forced people to ask that question, and that's what we do on this show. Whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong, we're going to talk about and decipher things from 15 different angles, whether people like it or not. And, I kind of started the trend. Not kind of. I started the trend, which, again, it might have been I shouldn't pat myself on the back for that. Everyone has a cool thing that everyone starts a trend at some point. And I started the trend of, should Jalen Green be the starter for the Phoenix Suns? And I think I laid out a really good argument for that, but we'll push it to the side. And he mentioned tonight that Jalen Green's going to be in the starting lineup, which, just so we're clear, as he should be. He should be in the starting lineup. Just because a podcaster might have a thought or two about it doesn't mean the Suns shouldn't absolutely try it first, because that's what they invested in. And when the Suns came out the other day and basically said that Jalen Green's not tradable, now I'm intrigued. Let's see what he's got. Let's see what Jordan Ott is going to do with him. But he's going to be back very soon. I would assume he's back probably next week at some point. That's kind of my guesstimate there. But he's going to be back. And the original thought was, by a lot of Suns fans, never me. I'm not going to, be the Jalen Green #1 fan and totally switch my position. If Jalen Green comes in and is awesome, I will change my opinion. But right now, there's no data to prove that. So I came into this thinking Mark Williams would be the Suns' second best player. And then, of course, Dillon Brooks elevated that. And Mark Williams is probably 3 or 4. But the real question is, how does the hierarchy of the Suns' offense go? Because you saw tonight with Dillon Brooks, who was phenomenal from the floor. And I don't want to spend a ton of time on this because there's other stuff from this game that I want to get to. But Dillon Brooks' three-point shooting and his playmaking and his tough shot making and his career high from field goal and it's not close. Dillon Brooks is the better defender than Jalen Green. I know a lot of you would say Jalen Green is the second best player on the Suns. I ask of you, before you say that, to go look at the statistics, because that is not what the statistics show. Jalen Green last year was an inefficient three-point shooter. He averaged his field goal percentage was lower than Dillon Brooks last year. Now, again, there's arguments to be made for this stuff, but it's closer than you think is the argument I'm trying to make. I'm not trying to say anyone is or isn't. But Dillon Brooks also defensively, what he brings is, maybe the best defender on the Phoenix Suns, probably the best defender on the Phoenix Suns, and Jalen Green ain't close to that. And so here's the question. It's not even, is Dillon Brooks the second best player? Because who cares about that? It's not even, is Dillon Brooks, how close is it between those two guys? Because that's not the question either. The question is, with Dillon Brooks playing so well, where does how do the Phoenix Suns ask him, as he has seized this opportunity, as he's worked his ass off in the offseason to get here, to then say to him, hey, take a back seat to Jalen Green? How do you do that? I don't know. The Suns are going to ask him to do that maybe. And I just wonder who Dillon Brooks, who's been nothing but a team player for this team, how is he going to take that? Probably well. Probably come out here and be the best teammate he can be and still do everything and more to help this team to win. But what I will say, life is not fair, so there's that caveat to it. But it is not fair to Dillon Brooks for someone who has seized their opportunity to say, hey, take a back seat offensively to Jalen Green. We know he's not shooting as well or as efficient from the field last year when he was with the Rockets like you are now. We know he's not as good of a defender as you, but take a back seat to him. I'm just curious how that on its own is going to play out or indeed work for the Phoenix Suns. Because Brooks tonight, especially down the stretch, him and Booker doing the mano-a-mano, your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn, the mid-range assassins, the tough shot making. he has fit in seamlessly with Devin Booker. And maybe I'm just being nuts. And that's totally fair too, but like that's what I want to do on the show. I want to ask questions and at least make you think. Even if the thought you have in your mind is, that's kind of dumb. Like let's think about this together. And so when Jalen Green comes back to the fold, it's easy to say, it's just going to work out wonderfully. And it might. And it probably will. And it might be better. But I just wonder how that dynamic is going to work and the chemistry. So there's two ways to look at it. I'm okay with both. And just so we're clear, these are good issues for the Phoenix Suns. If Jalen Green is the Suns' third best player, that's awesome. If Jalen Green is the Suns' second best player, that's even better. Because that means I got Devin Booker, I got Jalen Green, I got Dillon Brooks, I got a trio I can build around. And so this is not a bad thing. This is not a knock on anyone. It's just me saying I'm curious to know how the dynamic is going to work. While also Jordan Ott is going to juggle the multitude of guards he has. So let's get to that a little bit. How's he going to juggle it? What could be coming next? And what was the reason the Suns almost lost this game? Well, I think you know why, but I'm going to say it anyways. Let's talk about that next. Today's episode is brought to you by the folks over at BetterHelp. As we roll into the new year, there's a lot of pressure to chase a new you. But sometimes it isn't about reinventing yourself. It's about feeling a little less weighed down. Therapy can help you understand what's holding you back, and by giving you an outside perspective of your emotions, motivations, and relationship. And that's why BetterHelp can be such a helpful place to start. Their therapists are fully licensed in the U.S. and work under a strict code of conduct. They help you match with a therapist based on your needs and preferences, so you're not doing all the legwork on your own. And if the match isn't the right fit, you can switch to another therapist from any time from their tailored recommendations at any time. BetterHelp has over 5 million people with over 30,000 therapists, and live sessions average a 4.9 out of 5 ratings across more than 1.7 million client reviews. BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with qualified therapists. Sign up and get 10% off at BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. That's BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. So here's a couple of things I need to get to before I get to why the Suns potentially lost this game. One, and it's something I have to mention, sweet baby Oso Ighodaro, who I saw tonight, quick, mortgage matchup vibe check. You always wonder who watches the show. I know some players do. I know at least one does, and Mark Williams and his family. I'm sure maybe another one or two does. It would only be human nature to go check out a couple of shows. They're not going to tell me that. But I do call Oso Ighodaro Sweet Baby Oso Ighodaro. And I do kind of wonder if that nickname ever got back to him. I'm not going to stop calling him that. He's my Sweet Baby Oso Ighodaro. And, I went up and shook Mike Breen's hand as Oso Ighodaro was walking the other direction, and we kind of crossed paths for a second. I was just like, oh, my Sweet Baby Oso. I was very hard on Sweet Baby Oso Ighodaro to start the season. I coined the phrase Sweet Baby Oso Ighodaro because I was so frustrated watching Sweet Baby Oso Ighodaro that I just had to treat him like, my Sweet Baby Oso. He's just out there having a grand old time. He's just out there fighting his hardest, and it made it easier to watch Oso, if I'm being honest. But we are seeing a switch turn from Oso Ighodaro over the past 2 weeks. And the biggest thing he has added to his game is putting his head down and getting to the freaking basket. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like Oso was like this national treasure tonight for the Phoenix Suns. He was good, and that's exactly what they need him to be. He had 0 points tonight. He was 0 for 2 from the free throw when it mattered most. I'm not trying to act like Oso Ighodaro was the savior tonight. But I am seeing some things off ball and on ball that I really like. I'm seeing the motor, the wheels start to turn a little bit in his head of where he should be. And I got to mention this. His dribble penetration and getting to the basket while combining that with his ability to pass and find the cutter is really impressive. So you know what? I spent a couple of minutes, and it wasn't even a great game from Oso Ighodaro. In fact, some might argue it wasn't a great game at all. But I see the vision now with Oso. Now, Colin Gillespie was really bad tonight shooting the ball. More and more might just, I'm not going to say that, but I was just going to joke and say more and more he might just be a six-man, but, whatever. I think Colin Gillespie six-man or starter rotation, I think it doesn't just matter about points. I think there's other things that go into it, and I think he makes other players better. But needless to say, he wasn't great tonight. Grayson Allen was 2 for 10 from 3. 2 for 10 from the field, 0 for 6 from 3, but he had a massive throw the ball off of Mikal Bridges to end this game that I think is going to carry him into next game about how well he actually played today. But here's the biggest thing. The Suns almost lost this game for the same thing that people try to suppress me about because they get frustrated when I say these things. But I will continue to say them. The Suns are too small. The Suns are too small. They got out-rebounded tonight. 50-37 from the Knicks. You can be the team that tries really hard to grab every board and is very active around the boards, and that's okay. And that's actually, it's obviously a very good quality to have. But you will never be able to substitute size. And the Suns almost lost this game because they couldn't grab a rebound. The offensive rebounds tonight, 16-9 in favor of the New York Knicks. Rebounds as a whole, 50-37 in favor of the New York Knicks. If the Knicks could hit a three-point jumper late in this game, they probably win. But points in the paint, offensive rebounding, rebounds as a whole, the Knicks dominated two of those three things and won the other thing. And I will continue to tell you until I am blue in the face, this team has earned the right for you to push one or two chips in. No one's asking for you to go make a ridiculous deal and go trade for a superstar or go trade for a star player. Let's be adults here. The Suns have a massive need at the power forward position, and from what Jordan Ott is showing me, Rasheer Fleming ain't ready yet. The Suns have legitimately 6 guards, and since Grayson Allen has been back 2 of the 3 games, he hasn't been great. He is losing trade value by the day. I would still contest that I would move Grayson Allen. Well, Ben, why don't you move Nick Richards and Royce O'Neal? Because no one wants those players. Royce O'Neal is an older player that has some value, but not a lot. Nick Richards has no value. Grayson Allen's got some. And if you can combine him to go get a Bobby Portis or an Obi Toppin or a John Collins, if you will, because another team needs a scoring combo guard that can play some defense and get out and be feisty and be pesty and be a pest defensively. I won't stop pounding the table that this team has a size problem. And they've earned the right for you to push 1 or 2 chips in the table. In order to get something at the power forward position so you're not giving up 100 offensive rebounds a night, you got to give something. And so I think Grayson's a good player, but he's the most expendable. And now that Jalen Green is going to be back very soon, what do you do with Jamari Bouye? What do you do with Jordan Goodwin and Colin Gillespie's minutes? Because you got to find minutes for Booker, Green, Allen, Goodwin, Gillespie, Bouye. Or you could move one of them. Most ideally, and has the most value, Grayson Allen. And help out this power forward spot. Because the Suns got dominated on the boards once again tonight, and it almost bit them in the ass. And you best believe when this team is in the postseason, it will bite them in the ass. And you're not allowed to complain about it if you don't try to do something about it now. And again, we're not asking for someone massive. We're asking for an Obi, a John Collins, a Bobby Portis, a bigger player that can play the 4, that can grab a board and make this team bigger. And also kind of fit in with the culture. And I think Obi and Bobby certainly do that. With that being said, guys, Do me a favor, hit that like, share, subscribe button. Follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. You guys have been doing that in bunches. Oh, by the way, guys, you guys were so kind in the comment section the other day. It almost makes me feel bad for being such a jerk sometimes when I do this show because I get frustrated or I have strong takes. Very soon here, my wife and I are going to have our baby, and I will definitely at least be taking a week off from the show when that happens. But I told you guys about, some of the things going on in our lives, and we've, been in the emergency room the last couple of days because there's a lot to it than just, the baby's coming. And you guys were so kind. Despite me being a freaking dummy at times. So thank you for that. That was very humbling. That was very grounding. You guys are freaking awesome. And don't ever feel like you can't come after me in the comment section or on social media. Just because we disagree doesn't mean we can't have a civil dialogue. So thank you so much for that. That was really, really cool of you guys to have my back and and be cool in the comment section and show that support. So thank you for that. You guys are awesome. You guys are the best. You guys continuously give me this awesome dream to talk sports. Hit that like, share, subscribe button. Follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. You guys are awesome. And I will talk to you guys on Sunday when potentially we see Trae Young and the Washington Wizards. Talk about that on Sunday. But until then, my name is Benjamin Garcia, and it's been Locked On Phoenix Suns. Talk to you guys soon.